Group conversations. An introvert's worst nightmare. Okay, maybe it's not that bad, but if you're an introvert, then chances are high that being energetic, entertaining, and displaying high amounts of charisma in a group setting, or any setting for that matter, is probably not something that comes naturally to you. But the good news is that you can become that charismatic person with time and focused effort. These 7 tips will help you get there. All you need to do is execute them and get out of your comfort zone. So the first tip is it's okay to interrupt. Group conversations have a much more different dynamic than one-on-ones. They're chaotic and fast-paced, and every now and then people talk over each other because everyone wants a word in, especially if it's a large group.
Akash is a rapist. Why are you saying it?
If you have a habit of hesitating before you say something, or are always looking for that perfect little opening, then most of the time you'll just end up on the sidelines. So you need to get comfortable interrupting to make yourself heard. For example, take a look at how stand-up comedian Andrew Schulz spontaneously interrupts Akash, and see how Akash is not upset by this.
Nobody would remember an Emmett Smith roast ever if it's not for that.
We didn't even know it was Emmett Smith. Isn't that crazy?
Now, if you do this excessively, then it will become a problem. But the main point is that if you interrupt someone every now and then it's okay, as long as in general you're being a good and active listener. And this brings us to our next point, which is be present and engage in active listening. It's really important to get out of the trap of being stuck in your own head and to actually be present in the moment instead of rehearsing what you need to be saying next. So you want to be fully present and engage in active listening by giving feedback to the speaker through actions such as nodding, laughing out loud, and giving verbal feedback when appropriate.
Yes, I do agree, Bob.
Now, when we're in a one-on-one situation, we do this more naturally. But in a group setting, we may think that just because the speaker isn't directly talking to us, then we don't need to engage in active listening. But active listening is just as important in group conversations, and there's 3 reasons for that. The one is that you hear and understand everything that's being said, and therefore you don't run the risk of saying something that's irrelevant. 2 is you'll make the speaker feel listened to and respected because they know you are listening. And 3, you'll actually be able to contribute better to the conversation because you're actually following along on what's being said. Now, there's one more interesting psychological effect that active listening has on the group social dynamic. And when you start actively listening in group settings, people will start to see you as an engaged member of the group who is actually interested in what they have to say. So they start to subconsciously direct more of what they have to say to you, effectively bringing you more into the group. And at this point, being able to share ideas, thoughts, and stories will become much easier because people will be more engaged with you as you were with them. Tip number 3, add value. I cannot stress how important this is, and it's probably the most important tip of all, and it's not only going to help you with your group conversations, but your social interactions in general. I mean, think about it. Would you rather hang around with someone who is always taking value from you? That is, they're negative, they complain, they always talk about themselves, and they bring no value to the table. Or would you rather be around someone who's always radiating positive energy, understands you and listens to you, encourages you, and is just always offering value without any expectations in return? If you chose the former option, then
Doesn't make any sense.
Another mistake that you want to avoid is taking every conversational topic and always bringing it back to yourself. For example, if someone talks about how bad the weather is in their city and you follow up with how much worse the weather is in your city. I know because that's what I did a long time ago, and it just kills the conversation and it sucks.
Energy.
So instead, focus on adding value and positivity to the group and you'd be good to go. Tip number 4, learn to... Wait. Man, who moved the camera? Oh my God. All right, sorry guys, I don't know who keeps moving the camera, but tip number 4, learn to become a good storyteller. Now, this is probably the hardest skill for an introvert to learn and master, and it's not necessary to be a good storyteller to do well in groups. But if you really want to master group conversations and social skills in general, then this is a highly valuable skill that you can carry with you for the rest of your life. Now, there are a lot of books and videos out there that'll help you master this art, but I also highly recommend watching a lot of comedians. And not just comedians doing stand-up, but also doing interviews, podcasts, and on talk shows. Now, this is something that's going to really help because Not only are comedians amazing storytellers, but learning through example is one of the most powerful ways that you can learn. Some of my favorites are Joey Diaz, Bill Burr, Louis C.K., and Andrew Schulz. And remember, start small. Learn to get comfortable telling stories that are short and sweet at the start if you're uncomfortable being the center of attention, and then work your way up. Tip number 5, eye contact. And when you're talking to someone one-on-one, what do you do with your eyes? You make eye contact with the other person, of course. Now, what happens when there's multiple people? Now, this always confused me because I knew I had to look at everyone while I was talking to make them feel included. So my eyes would just start at every person once a second. This is not how you want to do it. You want to be making eye contact with someone long enough until they know that you're talking specifically to them so that they can feel the connection, and until you get some sort of feedback from them, such as a nod, before making eye contact with someone else. Not only does this make everyone feel included, but people remain engaged and their minds won't wander. Now, Ben Affleck does a really great job in this example. I want you to pay attention to not only how he holds eye contact with the host, the audience members, and the guests, but how he holds the eye contact for at least a couple of seconds before making eye contact with the next person.
My mom, they do a weird thing where, like, at the Oscars, they put, because they have to rehearse where the shots are going to be and so on. It's a television business thing. Don't worry about it. But they put big name placards of where, so it'll say, instead of Jack, it just says Jack Nicholson, you know, and they'll say, like, Ryan Gosling or whatever. And my mom was obsessed by that and went around taking pictures of all the... I was like, you know, that's not the real Jack. She enjoyed her time.
Tip number 6, read How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Trust me. Just
do it.
You'll thank me later. Finally, tip number 7, don't get discouraged. Mastering the skill takes time and tons of effort, especially if you're an introvert. If you're someone who struggles with social anxiety and anything on this list feels overwhelming, then that's completely normal and understandable. You always want to start small and do things that are slightly outside your comfort zone but still manageable, and then go to the next step from there after you've mastered that. This is called gradual desensitization or exposure practice, and is an extremely powerful technique for overcoming fear and social anxiety. If you want to learn more about this technique and common mistakes to avoid when doing exposure, then check out this video that is over here somewhere. There, I think it's over there. Check it out. Peace.